On the topic of practical implementation of M-learning instructional design within a Thai institution. Please welcome Mr. Brian J. Phillips.
There it is. Why mobile learning? Is there any students in the house? Close your ears for a second. I need to talk to the teachers real quick. We are really, really boring, okay? I don't know about you. Not engineering faculty, no. I don't know about you, but when I teach, I sing, I cry, I tell jokes, we talk about romance, we do it all, and that burns up about 5 minutes, and the students are kind of... If you use mobile learning, it's like a trick. You say you can use your phone in class, and they're like, for real? Are you joking with me? Is there something that you're trying to trick me out of? Because every high school around here has a death notice. If you pick a phone up, you shall die. And we will tell your parents. The great thing about using a mobile learning technique is once you start using it in a class, the students start complaining about how rigorous it is and how they don't want to do the M-learning thing, and that could you please come back and teach like you used to, which is kind of it's a nice circle to live in. Let me give you one other reason why you should do mobile learning. Students have to close your ears a little bit more. Most of you know that most professors are quite collegiate. We're all the same level. We don't compete. It's not true. Every teacher knows that they're the best. And that's why they can be friendly and nice to the other teacher, because they know I'm better than you. Okay? The problem is, you do have the best walking into your classroom right now. With the m-commerce, with e-commerce, with the internet being just as good as a lecture, there's really no difference between a lecture online versus what's in class. So you have somebody like this teaching. Oh man, he started at MIT when I was 4 years old. You see the awards that started in '78 was when he got his first award, and then he got awards from NASA, and oh man, they haven't stopped even. I mean, this gentleman teaches online using Skype with small groups, and he really likes undergraduates. He really gets along with them. This is just the awards. This is not even talking about his discoveries he's made. This is not even talking about the books he's written. Now, in the past, in the classroom, I was kind of competing with, I'm from Mahidol, and we're competing like with Chula and Tamasa and King Mongkut, so it's a nice friendly competition. But you got a monster that walks into the classroom like this, how can you compete with him? How can you teach against somebody like this? 1 million hits off his YouTube. Now, I am at King Mongkut, so there's also engineering on there that's quite famous. It's not fair, man. You see how many hits he got? It's like 1,000. It's not fair, man. Physics gets all of the love. I don't understand this one bit. The problem is we got kind of a new type of student that comes to class, and I think a lot of you have seen this type of student already. They had no pen, no anything, not even a cell phone. They walk in, sit down, and they just kind of, I'm not sure what they're doing. They sit there for like 2 or 3 hours, and they come up and say, can I have the PowerPoint? I said, well, didn't you take notes? No, we don't take notes. what are these students actually learning? What are they benefiting? In the US, okay, you have a computer science degree, that's not enough. You got to go someplace like this where you do your own learning online or through email or through iTunes, and then you have to take certificates. They already know that maybe what you're learning is not valuable enough right now. So for us to actually to stay in the classroom, I think it's okay for 5 or 10 years. But in the long term, if we don't do something different, this is pretty much where the students are going to go to actually learn something. For myself, let me introduce myself in a second. My name is Jan Bai Un. Ba Mai Shai Bai. Mai Shai Un. Mai Shai Bai Un doing that. I got my own learning method I've been testing. It's a little too, I need to publish first. I'd like to talk about, I'm sorry, but I'll talk about it some other day. But what I've been doing is I've been collecting my own information about how students use data for the last year. And then last year, I've been testing students in the classroom. I had 3 sections, 3 terms, and I have over 318 participants that I've compared and contrasted and seen how they learn on their own using a mobile device, using my method. And then right now, I'm kind of gone to a different phase where I'm trying to take my method and kind of refine it and try to make it more effective, which I'd like to redo the research, but it's a little too late for that. Okay. The data I'm going to show you is really fresh. I've been doing a survey on how students use mobile learning devices, and I'm happy to kind of share it to kind of save you the trouble of having to find out. I know Thai students quite well. Okay. This right here is quite fresh. When you're picking what learning methods you're going to use, the trick is you first got to start out with what type of computer. The second one is what different services are you going to pick to teach these students with. Okay? And my answer is quite simple. The one that students use, of course. Why would you pick anything else? So the first thing you have to do when you're doing your research is start out asking the students what they do, what they use, and how they use it. This is the technological acceptance model. This one's kind of the classic in research on how the data, how people start using a technology. Now, for myself, instead of worrying about perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use so that the students understand it, I kind of like just jumping at the end. What I like to do is find out which platform or which service or which technology the students use the most and use that for my teaching platform. I don't want to test a new platform. I don't want to test a new technology because actually having students apply it and use it, oh man, that is difficult to get them to do anything different. Some of you have tried this. My survey, I have 49 different items that I measure. It's been developed with a friend, Michael Grosch from Germany. He started out as his doctoral thesis, and man, he had like 120 items when he first started with it. I kind of helped him a little bit change it to it was English, and then I've got my own streamlined one that's a different version of it for just mobile devices. And once again, this one is fresh. So you could borrow this, but this data is pretty good. Okay? Now, which platform is the most popular? Where do the students go? Hold up your phone. Which phone do you use? Oh man, it's a small sample size. iPhone? Android? Oh man, I'm in the wrong campus. I'm really looking forward to the next presentation. The issue is a lot of the Thai students use an iPhone, but not all of them do. So it's really difficult to kind of say, okay, 70% of you, you can do this, you guys go away. Okay? If you look really closely, it's not the issue if they have a cell phone, but how many? You see the overlap with iPhone and Android. If you add those two numbers up, it's way above 120 samples, way over that. I did have, like you see down at the bottom, I do have one student that had iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, Windows, oh man, everything. Once again, they have one, but do they use it a lot or not? For me, my measurement has been really consistent for like the last 3 years. Using phones to teach with is probably a smart deal because students use it quite heavily. They're quite comfortable with it. During the break, after the break, in the restroom, during class, they got the phone right there. So you might as well put them to work anyway with it. Okay. The one that's been kind of interesting, because the iPad came out in 2010, and it's been phenomenal, the sort of penetration that there's been with just the iPad. Although, this is pretty good. It's almost there with iPhone. Pretty much the choice. Well, let me go back to this one. iPhone is 75% of the survey. iPad's up there at 66%, but you see the students, they're not as fond of using a tablet computer. So if you were using a mobile platform, probably the phone would be the better choice between the tablet and the phone, which kind of goes against kind of what the government's kind of doing with the tablets kind of going out. As most of you know, you kind of got a tablet, but you got to do something with it to learn something from it. This one's the kind of interesting one. Oh, this is old school. I think e-learning, we talked a little bit about it before. I don't think e-learning exists anymore because pretty much I don't think any students have desktops at home. Pretty much it's mobile devices all the way. And I think it's maybe pretty much the same way on this campus. The statistics kind of agree with how many people still use Windows. The international one is about 89%. It dropped just a little bit lower than 90%. So I think this one's a pretty accurate representation of what Thai students use. What do you guys think? What do you guys use? No MacBook? Are you guys engineer students? Where's Linux? What's wrong with you? Oh. But this is the interesting one, because I was thinking about computer labs, the next one, computer labs. But they use the tablet, they still use notebooks quite heavily, although they'd rather use a cell phone. This is the one that interests me, because right at where I'm at, I'm from the International College at Mahidol. And we have about 4 labs, and I keep thinking, oh, we don't need any more. Students have laptops. We don't need that anymore, because they bring their own equipment. That's not the case. They still quite heavily use desktops. And I don't know if you see the same thing on this campus or not. Students, do you use desktop or not? Yeah. Oh, okay. The survey that you had was a little bit interesting. Was it 2012 or 2011? I think the market's really changed within like the last 2 years, and I think the data's kind of behind because oh man, my wife's down in Prachuap, and even Prachuap's got a Wi-Fi every place. It's kind of hard not to escape from it. But pretty much all of the students in Bangkok have an internet connection or have a friend that have internet connection. The one that's kind of interesting for me is everybody accuses students of playing video games too much. They're maybe playing on their cell phone, but they're not buying the small game-held games that they used to at all. And I think most of the students, some of the males play games, but most of the females never do. So for my own recommendation, you kind of saw the information already. It would be better to be dual platform. If you're going to focus on mobile devices, if you're going to focus on the smartphone, Android and iPhone, if you do iPhone only, it's kind of a little bit unfair for that 20 or 30%. You can put them in groups so that they can work together, but yeah, you still got the student, but I don't have a phone, I can't. It doesn't work as well. What I've done in my own research is I broadened out the definition wide enough that they can use smartphones, they use tablets, and they can use laptops, because it's interesting because each one has their own benefit and their own weakness. And as you know, the connection speed in Thailand is kind of, and then the university, I'm envious about this university. At Salaya, I already told the students that Salaya mi kwai, samo sway, puying keng ring na, da Wi-Fi cha cha, Now, for the actual service that you should use, this is a shopping list. For my own research, oh man, what the heck? This is brand new. This just happened this term. Most of the research I've done up to this point, Google's number one. Yay, Google. What's Line doing up there? You showed the statistics on Facebook, right? 18 million. Line is just 1 million or 2 away from this, and it's moving up quick. I still think that Line's probably more popular with Thai students than, oh man, I'm sorry. Let me go, other Thai students, do you use Line? You know what Line is? Is it that bad? I'm kind of confused about it myself. Once again, if you're considering putting in-learning into your class, this is probably a shopping list of the media that you might consider to use. Next slide. This is the ones you should avoid. This is the bottom, and it's kind of sad. This is where the library is. The one, oh man, I highlighted it, but it's not there. There it is. The one I'll talk about in a little bit more detail, because everybody's crazy about Moodle, because in Thailand we don't have money for Blackboard. Okay, so it's free, and students hate it really, really bad, beyond normal hate. Okay. My recommendation for this list is most of the research being done in M-learning, they are introducing new learning platforms. It's great and stuff, but they just don't take. The students won't use them unless you force them to. And this is not even talking about the teachers, where that's the hard crew to really talk to. Students are easy compared to having the lecturers actually adopt a tool. There's lots of different reasons for it. This right here is from, some of the ones here are from the EU Open Discovery Spaces, where they're kind of doing what you were talking about in Thailand, where they have learning resources online. And these kind of fit for the reason. For me, I really hate it because when they first put Moodle on our system, you had to be on campus, not off campus. And then the other thing, oh man, the password and how you log in, yeah, that's up here too. It kept changing, it was confusing. I never figured, I couldn't get into the system. If I can't get into the system, oh man, students don't have a chance. Okay. Already talked about this. Let me go on. Let me show you this one. This is the survey I did over at King Mongkut over in Thornbury with John Michael. And I thought you guys might be interested in this as well, because this really closely related to your students. The sample size is over 800 students. So I think for a moral lesson for you, it's kind of nice to share this information with you. These are the top 15, and I kind of highlighted the first 5 that you might consider. Khop kun ma khop. Sorry, khop.
So thank you very much, Mr. Bayan. I think it's what really excited presentation. Yeah, I think now everybody may be tired. Maybe I want to take a break for 5 minutes. And then we come back on 5:50. So then we have a short break after the last presentation. So thank you very much. I think many questions for your presentation. Maybe we script for the last plenary section. Please. Thank you. have one evaluation from, please fulfill and give back to the assistant in front of the rooms before you leave. That would say thank you from DAAD. So for the last speaker, let me invite Assistant Professor Dr. Aswin Net Pokael, the Director of Doctoral Program in Communication Arts and Management Innovation, National Institute of Development Administration, Bangkok, or we know NIDA. The topic is From E-Learning to I-Learning, Media Communication and Education in the Digital Age. Please welcome Assistant Professor Dr. Aswin Net Pokael.
Thank you very much. Sawadee krab. Good evening. Guten Tag. Dr. Johannes Galbert and Ms. Annette Severi, Ajahn Dr. Thirawut, the President who opened this event, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Very pleased to be here with you this evening, and also a good chance to meet with colleagues and friends. Ajahn Dr. Pongsak, we met at NIDA campus, and very nice to hear the presentation of you, and also Ajahn Brian Phillips, a very fascinating presentation. So before I start, I hope you don't mind that I think I like this view very much. So could you just please excuse me for a few seconds? Just a little bit of a selfie so that I can post it on my social network tonight. Well, I think that's what we do today, right? The topic that I'm going to speak, and I want to keep my time so that it wouldn't take so long for you in case we have questions, and later on we're going to have a nice dinner, right? Right, my topic is from e-learning to I-learning. And I would like to start with this. Perhaps you might be wondering what I mean by I, which is quite strange. But, well, I leave it open to you to define and predict what the I stands for. But I'd like to show you with this first slide that maybe you are familiar with this, especially for the Thai audiences. That's a Niu Kai event. You know, a few weeks ago, just a little girl at a very small village in southern part of Thailand became very, very famous. And all the media crew went there to make stories, make documentaries. And the girl, Laila, the girl, became huge, famous overnight. And that just shows you how we are all connected through the new media these days. And that includes the field that I'm specialized in, that is mass media studies and communication studies. Well, I've been teaching for 15 years, and most of my students graduated and entered professional career, but almost all of them have learned stuff on mass media production. But I think they need to come back to school again and register for the new course now. Right, from e-learning to I-learning. I just like to open this with the question like this: how can today's school be transformed so as to become environments of teaching and learning that makes individuals lifelong learners and prepare them for the 21st century? That's a big question. Actually, this has been put by an organization called OECD, and I think most of you are familiar with this. It's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in Europe. The project of the OECD called Innovative Learning Environments was launched last year. And the core concept of this is that innovation is a key element of today's societies and economies. And that includes how we learn. Much has been said about innovation in education, but what does it really mean in practice, in terms of content, organization of learning, roles of teachers, and so on? So how does one design a powerful learning environment? I mean, one includes all of us here, that enables students to grow and reach their full potential in this 21st century. This project that I put forward here, it suggests that innovative learning environments responds to the question that I asked earlier. It presents a new framework for understanding new learning environments. And of course, it's valuable for those who believe in the value of innovation in education. And I think all of us do believe in that. It also analyzes how young people learn and under which conditions and dynamics they might learn better. So this is the assumption, perhaps. Learning-based takes place within technology-supported environments where learners consume and create content individually and collaboratively. I think we learned a lot from the previous two presentations that already we are now in the digital age. And I believe digital economy is here, as well as lots of countries. And to our personal levels, I think everyone will agree with Ajahn Phillips that we are all mobile connected. It's everywhere. It's always on all the time. We are always connected. So from e-learning to i-learning, I mean, since technology is with us everywhere, all the time, so why don't we create the conducive environment with technology-supported environments? And now it's the culture that people in these days share, and that is life around social networking. And from statistics, we see that more and more people in this country and around the world are equipped with electronic and internet. So that affects social values, behaviors, and attitudes. With this social media technology, people create. No more like the old days that students sit back, relax, passive. Not anymore. We just stay passively towards things that we encounter on our daily life. We tend to create our information, and better than that, we also tend to share it with someone, as well as exchange information. And all these technology are with us today. So you could see how connected we are through the new media, new communication, and not that necessarily we have to do it with desktop. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and you name it. It's with us. So, learning environments in this context, the idea is to make into practice virtual schools that can reach anywhere. And the result, students are allowed to learn at any time, any place, any path, and any pace. They could choose their own timing. In my context, when we learn about mass media studies, we used to have a term called prime time, which in Thailand essentially it's around 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. and the television commercials would cost about 500,000 baht per minute. But that's going to decrease, it's going to change, because the behaviors of receivers and the audiences are becoming more connected with technology, and they don't need prime time anymore. They prefer my time. My time when we can go back home anytime and look back at the clip, get on YouTube anytime as we choose. So that goes with students' learning experience as well. We should meet students where they are, wherever they are, and they could pick their best time of learning. So that gives you much picture of innovation that I have mentioned a few times. And in order for innovation to happen, innovation requires rethinking. Rethinking of the organizational patterns that deeply structure our schools, namely a single teacher, segmented classroom with the teacher, family timetable structure, and bureaucratic classroom units. Also, traditional approaches to teaching and classroom organization. For example, virtual schools, many innovative learning environments can be using time more flexibly than is traditionally the case in schools. The flexibility often goes hand in hand with individualized learning plans, where each learner may be working on something different, as well as with educational philosophies determined to make schooling less bureaucratic. And that, I think, very important for the part that I like to suggest at this timing. Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you another topic, that's quite related, but more into my field, which is media studies. I would like to thank as well to DAAD for the opportunity. This is myself, of course. And I was glad to be there to take part in that event called Global Media Forum. It was held in Bonn on June the 30th to July the 2nd this year. And it's the event that more than 2,300 visitors from 120 countries gathered. And most of them are from journalism, media professionals, and academics. We spent a few days discussed, especially the issues that surrounding the topic of this year's conference, which is, as you see at the top, from information to participation. And I think that's quite related to the topic of today, because we are talking about education now that needs more participation and not just give information out to students. We also need participations. The same goes with our media professions. Journalism has to reinvent itself. As I show you the case of Niu Kai. It's no longer the case that the media can set the agenda, be the gatekeepers producing news stories, soap dramas to the audiences. Media also need participation. And that's another quote that I like to put up here. It's by the Director General of Deutsche Welle, Peter Limburg. And he said that we should make the most of the opportunities presented by digital communication in order to enact positive change all over the world. He said that at the end of the conference. Actually, during that time, there's so many interesting topics that went on at the conference. And let me just check that my Twitter, because at that time, so many tweets were sent out that on that event. See, by the way, the next conference that's going to be held next year, its topic is Media and Foreign Policy in the Digital Age. And you could see that new media has a key role in today's world. Let me just give you some examples of the tweets from this conference. It said like this: social media can move people from the couch to the streets. The overlap between virtual and real is growing. That makes you think about events called Arab Spring. And actually the ones going on right now in Hong Kong. Another quote from the head of Axel Springer, Dr. Matthias Döpfner. He talks about the future of publishing industry in the age of the internet. And the quote from him is, digitization will change civilization. Both professionals and amateurs do need one another. There's no separation anymore. So I think that will come to the near conclusion of my presentation. And once again, I'd like to stress that I really had a good time at this conference, and thanks again for the assistance. This is a concluding remarks that I'm going to say to you. The prospect of I-learning. In this case, I could be the words that I said many times, innovation, or it could be just information, plain information, as well as internet, intelligence, anything you name it. But it's with us now. What it does to us is information, integration, interaction, and hopefully inclusion. In our 21st century, we need to have an inclusive society. We have much division for too long, and we have big gap in our social developments. With this new technology, we could bridge the gap.